inculcate all the beautiful pictures and messages and all the etc. into our lives. Okay, Kuf Dalet, page 104. Halacha Lamed Hey. We are in the laws of Tevilas Keilim, what vessels need to be immersed in the mikvah. We know that vessels that are considered to be placed or the vessels that are used in the context of a meal. And then we get into the discussion what they're made from, and that's where we get to the clarity of what needs to be allowed. If someone buys a product from the store, so this is my favorite example, I give it every year. You buy a glass bottle of Snapple. I think today the bottle's already made out of plastic, but anyway, these are made out of Snapple. Made from the best stuff on earth. That's their motto. Guess everyone can comment on how they feel about that, but that's what they say. Now, let's say your favorite flavor is peach, peach, raspberry, peach, whatever it is. Everyone has their likings. In order to be able to get your drink, your 16-ounce drink, your 12-ounce drink, they have to deliver it to you somehow. It's not practical for them to sell it to you in a bag, like in a plastic bag. It's going to be too wobbly. So the container that they chose is going to be this glass bottle. So when you're going to buy the drink, you want to buy the drink. You're not really so focused on the bottle. Oh, this bottle is curved that way. So it's not really so negate to you, because what you're looking out for is you want to get your favorite flavor drink, and it's your fix, and that's it. So the halacha is that even if what you're buying is sitting in a container, that on its own the container would require tevilah. If I bought it as a vessel, I decided to buy a glass mason jar, for example, or a glass jar to hold things, liquids that I'm going to be drinking in my refrigerator. I'm planning to keep it forever. That glass jar would need tevilah. But if I'm just buying the Snapple drink to drink the drink, the fact that the drink is sitting in a glass bottle does not give it the chashivas of a vessel, and it would not need tevilah. Which is actually how we do it. We actually drink the drink from this bottle itself, so you don't have to empty it. After your Snapple is finished from your bottle, you finish drinking it. Then one would not be allowed to use it for other liquids or other things without first teviling it. Some say you could use it again without teviling it if it's made out of glass. Since glass is rabbinic in nature, then it's then it could be a little bit lenient. And he brings down in footnote number 79 that in the case where we said about the Snapple, for example, you're just buying the drink. Once the Jew decides, this is from Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, it's a very interesting kind of perspective. His perspective, he says that once the Jew decides to keep the vessel as a vessel, it wasn't made as a vessel to keep. It was made as a vessel just to deliver your Snapple. Once you decide to keep it, so then the Jew is conceptually creating it. Now it's like, okay, I'm going to keep this as a vessel. No, that's a vessel. It wasn't, from the onset, created as a vessel to sell and to buy, keep as a vessel. So now the Jew is creating as a vessel. The Jewish made vessel does not need tevilah. Interesting perspective. Even though, in actuality, the Jew is not really doing anything to the vessel, just taking off the label, but they are designating as a vessel. So there is some kind of imprint, the Jewish imprint here. And that's what Moshe's perspective. Because glass is only the Rabbanon, rabbinic anyway, so then some are lenient. By the way, the same leniency also comes into play with regards to the disposable aluminum pans. The similar leniency, I spoke about it a few weeks ago. So an aluminum pan meant to be thrown away, use it once. There's no need to tell you if you're just using it once, because again, it's a throwaway method. If you plan on keeping it, you're going to point to someone one of you before you use it even once, and you have to tell it because now you're miyachid it as a vessel. But still, there are those that are lenient. I mean, of course, it's better to table it, but even then without a bracha. But there are those that are lenient by saying that the Jew decides to keep the aluminum pan and reuse it. The Jew himself is like making it into a vessel. But it was designed as a throwaway vessel, and by the Jew deciding to keep it, they are designating, they're making it like a vessel. The same story we just brought out here in the notion. Halacha lamed vav. How do we actually table the vessel? You have to table the vessel in a well-screened or the mikvah, so it has the size of 40 saw. You could also table vessels in the ocean, either in a mikvah, a kosher mikvah, 40 saw. 40 saw, by the way, is the amount of water. Not a water that can envelop an entire envelop a human being. That's the measurement of 40 saw. The halacha lamidzayin gets into the halacha. It's about chatzitza. When it comes, yes.
Like let's say you just want to like fill it up again to use it as like for every water for the beer food, like what is doing with water 2 times the time.
So according to some opinions, yes. You do have the leniency of the Moshe, what they just said, because you're now designated as a vessel. It wasn't about it before. You're making it a vessel, and therefore you're exempt. So really, a person can go either way with the matter, but it's better to tell you. But if someone has a hard time doing so or doesn't do so, they have to rely on it. Now, when it comes to the actual tevilah process, there's a fundamental difference between how this operates, between that and the laws of kashering. When it comes to kashering, I'm allowed to kasher half a vessel at a time. Suppose I have to kasher this my maple vessel. So if I can't, if it's so big, I can't actually get this inside another pot. It's too big. I'm allowed to get half of it in, a little more than half, then dry it and put the other half in when it comes to kashering. When it comes to tevilah, mikvah, it has to be a whole body experience. The whole vessel has to be immersed. So then if you can only get part of it in, it wouldn't work when it comes to tevilah. So halacha lamed vav. Seder keto table sakli. How do we table the vessel? Tzrichim lahatzvil sakli b'mayim. Table the vessel on the mayim. Also can get mikvah. Yesh b'em shira b'em tov shelter. The measurement of 40. So making yachol is okay by you cannot table the vessel in the ocean. Dini chatzitza. The laws of barriers of chatzitza. Hamayim tzrichim lemigoya l'chol chelkei hakli. The vessel, the water has to touch all parts of the vessel, the inside and the outside. Because one has to clean it before the tevilah, from all dirt, the haluda or rust. It shouldn't come into be as a barrier between the water and the vessel. The rust would serve as a chatzitza, the barrier, which is problematic. And Tivoli Miglin that someone tabled the vessel without cleaning it first. If the chatzitza, if the barrier is something that people are careful not to leave on a vessel, harei chatzitza becomes a chatzitza. It invalidates the tevilah. It's no longer valid now. If it's something that people are not careful about, it doesn't really bother people, then it would not make the vessel, it would not make the tevilah invalid. It would be okay. For example, let's say in Heiser Sachaluda, you remove the rust. If you just have a discolorment on the metal, let's say this is like a copper color, and let's say there's a part of it that looks burnt, that's a different color, but there's no actual substance there. That this color is not a chatzitza. Making it like yochel tevilah afilu chafili tevilah even label it shahu the way it is. He ain't there from the other knockdown, but people are not really careful about a tiny speck in terms of chatzitza. And what about the labels that are on the vessels that we buy, cutlery or pots and pans? There's Target $2.99 or Marshall $3.99. Years ago, bankrupt. Whichever store you bought it at gives you the price tag. Most people like to remove the price tag and the glue that comes along with it. Before the tevilah process, to remove any stickers that are stuck to it, you also remove the glue. That remains there, because that's also considered a chatzitza. There are some vessels that have a small sticker. The purpose of that sticker is to illustrate the quality and the value of that vessel. Just like you have on the cars, you have the insignia on the front. It's going to show Mercedes-Benz, it's going to show Rolls-Royce. The insignia is part of the tevilah of the vessel, of the car in its case. So by vessels, you have some vessels that have a certain sticker that illustrates, so this is for the fine, this is for the very hush of the vessel. It's not the norm to take it away. It stays there forever. The type of sticker that you put on the kosher, the type of crystal, like lemon, like a lemon stick. Kosher. That would not be a chatzitza. The click, make sure you let it table the vessel the way it is, because that sticker, it serves as the chashivas of the vessel. So you can tell your friends, look, I have a Lennox vessel. It costed me $39 as opposed to $3. I don't know if that's the case, but chashivas of the vessel. And therefore it wouldn't be a chatzitza because it's meant to be there because you want it there. Yes. It's a good question. It's a very good question. The answer is probably yes. Yes, I think so. Same idea applies. You want the sticker there. And it's part of the identification. Do it after. But if someone did before, you don't have to peel it off. Yes.
What if there's like a barcode on the thing that you fail? And afterwards you realize you didn't take it out, so like, you don't care. Like you take it out, but now that it's on, it's like, yeah, I don't mind that was it.
It depends. If the barcode's on the bottom and people are not going to see it, you can argue that, I don't care. But most people would feel uncomfortable to have the barcode sticking out on the side. It gets something. Again, if it doesn't bother you, but I think if it, but then you're getting into another question now. If it doesn't bother an individual and it bothers the masses, what's the halakha? So probably most people would find that be something they want to do. You don't need, the halakha is, yeah, tevilah, he brings down here from, well, you have this in two places in halakha. The tevilah is supposed to even remove a small amount that you're not makbid on, but other people are makbid on. So I think that the evidence, if you did leave it on, it would still be considered acceptable. Halacha limit test. Tabling a vessel in parts. Is that allowed? I already told my thunder, I said the answer earlier. We're now on page 12. Halacha limit test. All parts of the vessel have to be immersed. There has to be a total immersion. The Talmud at one time. Without having a little bit sticking out of the water, even a tiny bit. You have a very huge vessel, a huge vat. You cannot get into a mikvah. It's not possible. You cannot table it in parts. In such a case, the answer probably would be you could either table it in the ocean, if you want to clean to that, or you could have the vessel, have a big hole drilled in the vessel, which makes the vessel unusable, and then it's owned by the Jew, and then have it sealed up so then the vessel becomes made by the Jew. There's a few options here, but you couldn't table it. What about if you have
For example,
Yeah.
One, it's piece of metal that's the handle, you take it out. Should you be taking it out, or you should be leaving, meaning if a vessel can come apart, should you use it apart individually, or should you do that?
good question, but if the parts are meant to come apart,
Meaning,
let's say for example, it's not meant to come off, even though you could take it off, then you table it the way it is, it's meant to stay that way. But if you have, for example, a grinder that has a metal blade, it has a pestle and you push things in, and you have a bowl, all that's removable, and you do remove it to clean it, then you're supposed to table each part separately. But if it's meant to stay there, even though technically you take it off, then you table it in its whole form. What about some vessels which have it like a gooseneck, a very skinny neck? Or, so how do you make sure when you table it, you have to make sure that the water is developing the entire cavity of the vessel. Bakbuk shapiv tar, bottle has a skinny neck. Torch lachnise l'mayim, you put in the water, lachshete sham, to leave it there. Actually, konto amayim l'chol chelki after until the water goes to all parts of the center cavity of the vessel. V'yachnes kli l'mayim apiv l'mata. Don't immerse a vessel in the water with its mouth going downwards. Why? Because there's going to be air trapped inside the vessel. Because then the water will not be able to get into all parts of the vessel. The vessel also needs to be open in the normal way you're using it so that the water can go everywhere. Let's say, for example, I have a pocket knife. So you have to table a pocket knife, it's metal, and you can use it for meat or something. You have to table it in its open form, when all the knives are protruded. Another example would be if I have, let's say, for example, a very skinny vessel with a skinny neck. So cannot table it, the mouth going upside down because I'm going to trap air inside. Then water won't be able to envelop the entire cavity of the vessel. Rather, I should table it on its side, so that as the water is filling up the cavity of the vessel, the air has room to escape, and I'm going to have the vessel full of water. I can table it with its bottom down, then have all the water rushing from the top, so the air can escape that way. What about the handle of a vessel? Does that have to? I'm just thinking of a pun. I'm not sure if I should say it, but we have to get a handle on it. So what do? I can't really help it. That's what Hashem made my brain. In fact, I'll tell you a story about that. So one of my relatives has this kind of 20-something humor also. The next generation down, after he got married for a few years, his wife had to consult with my wife to figure out how to deal with it, how to navigate these waters. Also, the handle has to go get immersed in the water. It has to be clean from any kind of chatzitza. Why? Because it's part of the vessel. And it doesn't matter if the handle is made from material that needs tevilah or not. Let's say the handle was made from wood. Plastic. Because the handle is attached to the vessel in such a way where it's not meant to come off, it's considered to be nullified to the vessel. If the vessel needs tevilah, so therefore the handle also needs tevilah. I made a mistake. I have to apologize. Halacha Membeis clarifies a vessel that has many parts to it, and it says the reverse. I said it incorrectly. Clear morkum ekolokum shoinim. A vessel is made from many parts. Let's say it's a meat grinder. Tevilah Keilim, very morkum and pofalakav dekshimushi. Better to table it when all the parts are assembled the way it's used. Better to do that. But you are allowed to table it even when the parts are separate. But I'm wondering about that. How are you going to be able to get to all the parts? It's a little strange to me. In the case of I don't know, I guess if you're not sure that the water's going to get it develop everywhere, you have to take it apart. But say, for example, a Cuisinart, a little bit different. The housing unit is made out of plastic. It really doesn't need to be like. The only part that has a feel of feel would be the metal blade. So you have to take it apart anyway, so you have to make a bracha on the metal blade. You can have in mind that you're also going to be to the plastic. If you want to be machmir with the plastic, but you cannot make a bracha on it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then what are we doing next job? And then you kind of yes, and then you can switch it.
The filter attached to it. Like an Abriya filter, Abriya pitcher.
I just want to you buy the insert. I didn't want your first, especially on yeah, put the insert in.
The insert doesn't, the actual insert of the filter does not feel it. Metal?
No.
Probably an iron filter, yeah. It wouldn't need to be alone.
I'm saying the actual filter itself.
Doesn't need to be alone. How do we hold a vessel while it's being immersed? So the idea is that we don't want to hold it too tight. So let's say I'm immersing this vessel. I hold on to this for dear life. I'm not allowing the water to envelop everywhere, all parts of the vessel. So instead, I hold it just a little bit loosely. You can still hold it, but this way, or you can even switch positions with the hand. That way, it's giving an opportunity for the water to envelop everything. Or you can put it into the water and let it drop and catch it. If you're toiling heavy things, let's say, for example, silverware knives, they're heavy. If you let go of them, they might jump down to the bottom of the mikveh, and you have to go fishing to get it. So another way to do this would be to use a perforated basket, and you have them lying down loosely on the basket, and then the vessel goes down. You just take it so that getting a total immersion in the water. Okay. Yeah.
So, you're saying you hold on to it,
You could do that, but meaning holding on to it not too tight. Just hold on to it gently. Even if you hold it gently. A third option would be to get your hands wet with the mikveh water first, and then hold on to it. So it's also put the mikveh water. But the idea is, the general theme is don't hold on to it too tight. The shame should sort of the doctor explained to just a bit to be careful. There shouldn't be any unwanted objects stuck to the vessel, which would be as a barrier, be a problem. Be careful not to hold on to the vessel too tight. Because then the water will not reach between your hand and the vessel. You hold on to it softly, as much as possible. If you did immerse your hands in the mikveh water first, then you don't have to worry about chatzitza. Because then the mikveh water will touch all parts of the vessel. You're also able to change the place where you're holding on to it, but keep in mind when the water's inside, when the vessel's inside the water. That's the best. So let's say I have this vessel that's underwater, and I go in, I hold it like this, under the water, then I switch it to this hand while it's under the water. That's the best. Or I can just get it full of water, then drop it, catch it, or put it in a perforated basket. All these are options. Judaism gives us lots of options within the bounds of Jewish law. Now we're going to get into the thing of the salmanuka, which is the perforated basket. That's why they make milk crates, by the way, for the Jewish people. You're allowed to put many vessels in a salmanuka, which is a perforated basket. It's a milk crate. Well, they have big holes. You have to be careful. Some of them are smaller, but this is a bigger hole. Just like Look at the. Don't put vessels one on top of each other. Because then they're going to get stuck tight. Then the water will not permeate between them. It's going to be a chatzitza. You put them one next to the other. As a kelim mikvah, to put the vessel in a mikvah, they chevel for a string, a foot. Be careful that it should be tight. It should be soft and not tight, but they should come to a mind in order for the water to go in from below. What happens if you have a vessel that needs to be kashered and toiveled? Which one comes first? Correct. First, you should give it a hechsher, meaning first you should kasher the vessel, and then you toivel it. And if you toivel it before kashering it, some say if you reverse the order, that you have to toivel it again. Meaning if you toivel it before kashering, then you kasher it, then you have to toivel it again. Some say you do not have to toivel it again. Okay, therefore, what do we do? When in doubt, leave it out. We toivel it once again, but without a bracha. Okay, now, speaking of the principle, when in doubt, leave it out. Whenever we're toiveling something, first of all, we're toiveling something just for chumrah, for example, toiveling plastic, we toivel without a bracha. Or from toiveling something because it's a doubt, maybe they're not required to toivel it. Again, you toivel without a bracha. If you do require to toivel it, you know that for sure, then you're going to make a bracha, and you can have the other vessels that are doubtful or not sure about, have them go on for the ride. You don't have to pay tolls. You go alone because you already made the bracha, because you have a chiyuv from something like them toiveling that will have a chiyuv to make the bracha. So when they're along for the ride, they can come along, not a problem. Great. That's the best way to do it. Even toiveling glass, which is the rabbanon, you make a bracha. Al Tevilas Keilim. That's if you're toiveling one vessel in the singular form. Im toivel shnei kelim, if you're toiveling more than one vessel, or yesayich yistayim, instead of saying al Tevilas Keilim, you say al Tevilas Keilim, plural. Im hechel there's a nusach bracha. What happens if somebody they were still shikar and they don't remember what they did? They said the wrong terminology. Instead of saying keli, they said kelim. There was only one vessel. Or they made a bracha on many vessels. They said only in the singular form. They made a bracha on one vessel, and they said Tevilas Keilim, plural. So they reversed that. They did plural when they're supposed to be singular, and they did singular when they're supposed to be plural. Allah is yot, so they're still yot there. Probably if someone toiveled without making the bracha, then it's too late. You don't make a bracha after the fact, and the vessel is considered to be immersed. You can use the vessel without as much as you want without any concern, but it's too late to make the bracha. Now, when we have a suffix, halacha mem zayin, a tevel klimi suffix, you have a doubt, you're not sure if I have to tevel it or not. You don't make a bracha because we have a klal in halacha and Torah. Suffix barachis lahakir. In anochin lahamtim kitzaf, it's proper to wait a little bit. In efsher ad sheyiyah lo ikli atzorach tevilah bevado es v'tol shnei. It's better to wait till you come across, till you get into your possession a vessel that needs tevilah for sure, and then tevel them both together. And the one that the doubt whether or not needs tevilah comes along for the ride perfectly. You make the bracha on the vada, you have in mind, I'm also going to satisfy the obligation of the one that says suffix. Can you make the bracha of Tevilas Keilim, plural. If I have to table it right away, you say the bracha of Tevilah without Hashem's name. But if a person has to make a bracha at the table, something that you're not sure, topic whether or not you need to make a bracha. Therefore, the halacha is you don't make a bracha. You should be mahared in your heart, in your mind, in your psyche. You should think about the name of Hashem, but you don't actually utter it. Any question? All right, to catch my breath now. We're up to halacha memches. Actually, a few more halachas. I don't want to tell you a story. Yes. Wooden vessels do not need to be allowed, period. Plastic vessels that are throwaway do not need to be allowed, period. Even aluminum that's throwaway doesn't need to be allowed. Hard plastic, we toivel without a bracha. It's just a hiddur to do that. You don't even have to, but it's a hiddur to toivel it. Aluminum you also toivel without a bracha. But all metals and all glass have a chiyuv to table with a bracha, and earthenware is also exempt from zero, just like wood is exempt. But glass and metal materials are required to be tabled with a bracha, if they were owned and manufactured by a non-Jew, owned by a non-Jew at some point in the process.
We also do work to be hot.
We don't, no, wood is not into table, unless it's glazed with glass. But a plain wooden vessel don't need to play it whatsoever. For example, wood cutting board, we don't need to table it. If an earthenware vessel is glazed with glass, then it would need to be tabled. I would recommend not making a bracha in that case because it's a little bit sketchy.
What is another one doing?
Then table without a bracha. Ceramic is a type of, well, Pyrex is like a very strong type of glass. Today you do have some of these composite materials, and they could be a suffix. Then you should table without a bracha, unless you know for sure it's like earthenware, or we had over here also about stoneware in the beginning. I'm gonna find it for you in a second. Yeah, it says there about the glaze of glass. You table without a bracha. Okay, we the table without a bracha. About earthenware, let's see here. Anything that you cannot, if you break it apart, you cannot refire up like glass. If those materials, then it wouldn't need to be toivel if it's not material. But let's look at a general kind of description. Make a bracha on the metal and have in mind to the top is better, but you don't have to the top. I think you strip that out there. Yeah. That depends. So if it's a stream or if it's a river, if it's attached to the ocean, it could be valid to table in, but some of them are not. No. Okay. Yeah.
How is that different from like, if it's just off the garden, like you can glaze metal, but like the main thing is plastic, you can turn it all plastic.
You don't have to table the housing unit. Takes the rooftop to the point of striplet of the law. But if you're already tabling with the metal, It's a hidden to table hard plastic. It's not so. It's not a requirement. They're different. Hidra comes from the term of make it better, like Hagar, beautiful. The Esther was called Hagar, so it has all the patience, has all the qualities. But the Hidra is different. All right, so up to halacha memches. Yeah.
So, it's just cost for that. They sold it out, they didn't just sold it.
No, if it's a vessel that was always Jewish owned and became not kosher, you have to kasher, you don't have to table it. The vessel that was, let's say, owned by a non-Jew and it needs to be kosher, so the use of not kosher also needs to be undergo tevilah. Both things are required. The order is that we first kasher, then we table. Yeah.
Do you have like a factor in the software part of the disconnecting the window, but you never disconnect it, you just start on the second?
No, it's not meant to be disconnected. For sure, should be tabled the way it is. It's meant to be disconnected. Even then, it said that it's better to table it all together, but you can table it either way. What's that? I want to tell a quick story. It's 5 minutes before the time. It's a story about connected to the time we're in. About my father-in-law, Rabbi Daniel Levy of blessed memory. His yahrzeit was Achron Shalfeisa 2 days ago. The 5th yahrzeit. He ran the okay from 1987 until the year 2001. And I had the opportunity to work under his tutelage for about 20 years. I got to see him up close. The Rebbe told him when he studied in Kova for a long time. He was a very intelligent person, and he appreciated intellectual study, and he was a real Talmud Chacham. He studied in Kova for 7 years. He got married in 1970, and he was in Kova for 1977, at which point his father, Rabbi Levy, was memory, wanted him to join him at the OK Talmud now, 1977. That time, he wanted to continue his studies. But the Rebbe, there were many things that happened, but one thing the Rebbe told my father at the time was, that he says he wants to be involved in a project on my Yonah. This looks like the word. The Rebbe said, Kash Zachilu Shtiyo, providing kosher food to the world. I'm paraphrasing of his words. It's also part of spreading the wellsprings of Torah. So I'll just tell a story about happened with me and him. Had a client of mine that wanted to kasher a piece of machinery on a Sunday morning. And Sunday morning is not a regular work day. In order to determine whether or not I can kasher the machine, I have to be able to verify that the machine was not used within the last 24 hours. And in order to do so, I had to check computer type records. They're called table chart records. But the issue was that the office was closed. The office was closed, and there was no way to be able to access the records, except for the company representative. Can you open the office for me? I'll be able to tell that the record machinery wasn't used. So, 24 hours office, you could catch me. I'll get a mashgiach to come, not on a work day. He says to me, Rabbi, no, I cannot open the office on Sunday. What I want to do is you can come catch on Sunday. So produce the product on Monday, they won't stamp it kosher. And on Monday, I'll come to show you that the records that show that the day before Sunday, the day before that, on Saturday, there was no activity in buying. You can see that it was not used, and then therefore you can then stamp the product kosher. Very strange request. I didn't know. I wasn't sure what how to handle that. I went to my boss, my father-in-law, and I said, what do you think about this? I want to get your advice. He said to me, we can't do it. So I quoted from the famous statement. I said, Torah, he believed on his Torah. Your problem. I said, it's Torah. I need to learn. Please tell me what's the background. He says to me, it's not respectful for the spirit of contrast for you to come in on a non-work day and for them not to come in as well. So he wouldn't allow that because it would diminish the image of contrast in the eyes of people. So there were many things about him. I don't say more in the future, but he was a leader in that field. And he took the responsibility very strongly. The Rebbe told him to do it, and he really believed in the cause. And Okay, that's it. I'm here a little early this week. Have a nice week. We'll be in touch. We'll see you, I guess, a little bit more than a week.
On the street, down the street.
But I heard on the street and I was just like,
Yeah.
yep, that sounds great.
New York.
Yeah, New York schools.
New York requires it.
Annoying.
I spoke to my doctor, she's like, Texas only requires you to get the vaccine at 12 and 16. And my house requires it every 5 years.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's fine.
Did you not get it before college?
No, I think like you thought, sit there and learn.
Yeah, New York.
Look it up. Look it up. Yeah. 6 more weeks.
That's wrong. Different states have different requirements, which.
Oh,
the
fine.
differences. Meaning, it is kind of dumb that different states have requirements. Yes, meaning, if you wanna say you need it, okay, but like, can we make it like a federal, thing, like, but if you don't, it's not consistent.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's true for a lot of us. Like, yeah, just stupid, no, I understand that.
We all do many times when I all do this. Especially for like college and stuff. I get it, because like people sharing burdens and whatever.
But obviously, you don't.
What is that?
Meaning it's like the meeting, you know, till 16 now.
Right, like there's obviously valid reasons for that.
Then,
Yeah. I don't know, but I also don't know how long that people were vaccine for. Like, but obviously like they get it.
no, meaning that you get every 5 years in New York.
What about this?
That's what she said, that you only need to get it twice in next. That's why I'm saying it's stupid.
But I don't know, I'm not a date for the New York.
No, it's fine, as long as you're not, but. Okay, like,
I thought it was 2019. Yeah.
oh, no, you're not,
Yeah.
whatever, but you're not registered in. Well,
No, not at all, but like,
most jobs.
but I just think that's hilarious. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know, that's just such a good thing. I mean, especially the youth, especially not, they're not really
Because
fair.
they don't need a certificate to be in state. Which
No
no
one
one
actually cares.
also I learned all about. Yeah. Big India. And
I mean, I got a job, but I
yeah, no, that's all. They're like, maybe better.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna be learning.
You'll make a little bit extra. Yeah, you know, yeah.